Hiya, welcome back to our channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts and I hope you're doing okay. Today is a collaboration with the amazing Louise Singleton. If you haven't heard of Louise, go check her out. She is a very talented lady. She does all sorts of crafts, lots of resin as well. So if you're into resin, go check out Louise. Really, seriously, you need to. We're going to do a collaboration, and what we said we'd do was be inspired by one of the other person's videos. Now there's one of her videos that I've had my eye on for a long time, and that's the bubbles. I really caught my eye with that and I really wanted to try it, so I'm going to try the bubbles. Now Louise, I think, chose a different one of mine and is interpreting it or using it to inspire hers. So yeah, it's an inspirational video. I hope it inspires you too. So let's see what I'm going to get up to. Do you remember the little tiny keyring water things that were very popular for a short time about a year ago? Well, I saw this big version on AliExpress, I think, and I thought I'm going to have to do it. I love those little ones, forever doing those, and I thought I'm going to have to do the big one. And it came with 4 coasters as well, which I was very happy with. So I've just taken it out of the bag and I'm going to spray it with mould release because it's the first time I'm using the mould, and I'm using Vista Cascade and Resinate Opaque White. So I'm just showing you that I'm at the end of the bottle, but I need to stir it up, and we don't need a lot of it. This bottle has lasted me quite a long time. Now I didn't measure how much resin I needed, which is typical, but in my head, this is the way my head works sometimes, I didn't need to fill the mould up. I only needed to go up to the top line. Strange ways my head works. So there's me putting it up to the top line, thinking I've got actually made enough for once. Going around the outside. Now that is important to get rid of the bubbles, because you don't want little tiny bubbles. Anywhere where there's a 90-degree angle, it's going to attract air trapped. And with the tiers, because it's matte white, I can't see whether there's bubbles or not, so I decided to go around the tiers. Now as you can see, this mould is warped, it is bent, so I've stuck it up with sticks to try and keep it straight as possible. That was the only thing I could think of at short notice. The weight of the resin was pushing it out and it was warping it. Now it suddenly dawned on me that I actually had to fill it up completely, or when you turn it over, the resin's just going to go through the hole. I mean, what was I thinking? I do wonder about myself sometimes. So now, when I get to the little coasters, I actually realise what it is I've got to do. Completely fill it up to the top. And again, going around the edges with the little micro brush to get rid of all the trapped air. So this is 24 hours later. Time to demould the tray. Now at this point I'm starting to realise that the hash or crossed markings have come through on the design of the tray. Can you see that there? I think I'll pick it up and actually show you. And that does cause problems for me later on. And these are the coasters. I really love this coaster mould. I prefer the coaster mould over the tray mould any day. No bubbles, which is what I like. None of us like to see bubbles, do we? Now the idea with these moulds is that you just fill them up with blue, and you can see the different colours through the blue, not a solid blue. So I decided that I would put bubbles in the bottom. So I'm using UV resin and black alcohol ink. Now you might think, why is she using black? I actually thought, well, if I'm using blue alcohol ink or blue dye, it's going to need to be really dark to see through that. So that's why I decided to go with black. It could have been lighter colour, to be fair, but I decided with black. So I've mixed the black alcohol ink in with the UV resin. And I'm just going to put a little in the bottom tier. Making sure it goes up to all the edges. And this is the fun part. This is the bubbles. Now I've just mixed washing out liquid with water in a box, shook it up to get all the bubbles, and just lifting out the bubbles and putting the bubbles into the mould on top of the UV resin. Cover it over with the UV lamp. Now this is a quick cure resin. It didn't take that long, but once you've cleaned it all up, dried it out, then you've got your bubble effect at the bottom. Okay, so we've got ocean blue into some epoxy resin. And I'm also going to put some azure blue in. Ocean blue tends to be too green for me. I like water to be blue, not green. I know technically ocean water is green, more green than blue, but yeah, I like it blue. Don't you just like white sand and blue water? So I'm just pouring this over the top, up to the top lip. I am leaving myself a little gap at the moment because I'm going to be putting some things into the resin. So using my long neck lighter, and going to get rid of all the bubbles in the bubbles, if you see what I mean. So I'm just using my micro brush to do that. It takes a little time. Now I've got these little tiny, they're not charms, they're little tiny metal pieces that I think these were from Wish years ago. And you can get sea themed ones and animal themed ones. I don't know whether they're for nail art, they might be. They're very cute, very cheap, and I got them a long time ago, and they're very sweet to be putting into this kind of thing. And I've also got some charms that I've snapped the rings from. So again, these are probably from Wish. I think they were from Wish actually. But you can get them from AliExpress, you can get them from Amazon, I think. Just cheap little charms, and they're the rings I've snapped off so that they don't look as if they're charms. And I think it just sets this whole thing off. These little charms are just adorable. So now on to the big one then. I'm going to do the same with the big one. Exactly the same. Obviously more resin needed, and it is UV resin, it's not 2-part epoxy. And I had to work quite quickly with this, and I was in the dark because I didn't want the sunlight curing the resin while I was working with it. And this is when I start to realise that actually the patchwork on the bottom of the mould that came through, as I showed you earlier, was making an impression into the black resin. Now I decided to go with it. I don't know why. I could have put a lot more UV resin in there, but I wanted it quite thin so you could see the white through it. So I just went with it. Kept shaking up the bubbles. The more you shake water and washing up liquids, the bubbles get smaller, and I wanted quite large bubbles as well, so that was a challenge. Then I've cured it. I'm just showing you the pieces that are going in. Got rid of all the bubbles in the bubbles. Now I'm putting in all my little charms. And like I said, it does make the piece, I think. Adding just that something makes the piece. You can put it in real shells or dried seaweed or anything really. Pictures of fish. You could do 3D fish in there if you have the mind to. The inspiration came from Louise Singleton's video, and it was the bubbles. Now I did try using the bubbles on top of things, but I didn't have the right paints to paint the bubbles to make them look shiny and nice. So I decided to put them in something instead, and I put them in the coasters. Now I absolutely love the effect that this has given. I really do adore these little moulds. They probably could do with top coating because the two levels are different, but I think they're minimalist and they are very, very sweet. However, the tray mould was a different story. The tray mould, it bowed at the edges, so I had to stick it up to stop it bowing. It still bowed slightly, even though I did that. But the crisscross in the centre so wound me up, so wound me up. I could see, you can see from the black where the patches are. And although it came out really nice, I love the charms that I put in there. I would have top coated this if I thought it was worth saving. It may be worth saving still, we'll see. But it really wound me up, so I made another one. In between, I was running out of resin. you know how it goes. I stuck the edge up before I even poured any resin in that one. Obviously I knew it was going to happen, but it still bowed out slightly. But I put an extra layer of resin in the bottom, just white resin, before I put the black on top to get rid of the checkered marks. And it worked really well. I didn't have as many charms to choose from on this one, so I put in the ones I had, and I've top coated it so it's all flush. And I really love it. But it's a lot of resin. It's a lot of resin. And although the design is lovely, it's a huge tray. It's a lot of resin. So yeah, thanks very much Louise for this collaboration. I really enjoyed doing it and I can't wait to see your video. Go and check out Louise's channel. She's amazing. She's got so many strings to her bow. It's incredible. I'll be back again next week. Have a great week. I'll put some stills up at the end, and if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing some, and a thumbs up is always greatly received. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.